Greetings and welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Of, the finest in Worst Of lists, recognized as the tops in the entirety of the Worst Of list industry, having received for the third year running the 3 Sapphire Awards from Top 10 Worst Of Lists Association. I'm your host for today's episode, Reese Aroni, and what a pleasure and honor. I'm so proud and filled with so many emotions to be here with you, leading what it cannot be defined as anything other than an expedition. An intellectual expedition trying to find some sanity and sense of purpose, groundedness, and direction in this woe-begotten world, and it's top 10 worst scams. I mean, look, I think all of us sort of feel a sense of just about everything, like being a grift. And people just sort of, whether it's in our culture, whether it's our politics, whether it's in even our education and even interpersonal relationships and religions and all that kind of everything, all institutions, everything like that we're being ripped off. The people at the top are really kind of just morally compromised at a level that, anything that they do cannot be possibly, rationalized in terms of having any integrity. It's really that bad. It's like everything you would do if our culture, our society was a house, it'd be time to do a total rebuild. Just tear down and rebuild it. That's how bad it is. It's sort of, I know it's hard for you to admit it to yourself. You've been so delusional for so long. You've lived a life full of, compromised integrity to the point where you just maybe don't even notice it anymore. Where you're just just drinking it all in, just going what's that? There's a rapper who's sampled little tagline is another one. I don't remember who the rapper is. I barely remember hearing the another one. It's just one after the other of everything that we see in our lives all around us, where you're just looking at it going, look at this smarmy jagoff that they got to host, Nick Cannon. Look at that smarmy jagoff. Oh, how does he get a gig? Ryan Seacrest has 20 gigs. Does nobody else need a gig? Ryan Seacrest has to get them all so that he becomes super ultra mega rich, and he's a smarmy little white bread nobody. It's it's like there could not be a more hollow, empty-headed, soulless, creeped out, nobody than Ryan Seacrest. It's the worst out of everybody. One of the worst. This is the guy who invented the freaking Kardashians on top of everything else that we have to endure with his soulless personality and his endless affection for the banal and emotionally empty, intellectually worthless. I don't know. I listened to a radio show a couple times. I'm like, can anybody possibly be more vapid and surface-minded? The answer is no. Not even close. This guy's rarefied. It turned it into a skill. Being phony and ephemeral is a skill with Ryan Seacrest, and he's perfected it. And it's a goddamn shame. That guy should be kicked out of humanity, taking his driver's license away and not be considered a human being anymore. So anyway, top 10 worst of scams. Before we get to it, I just have a few things that I've got to confess to you. Number one, all the stuff I'm going to say some stuff here. This particular subject matter is going to require stuff to be said. Now, I want to mention the fact that it's, these are all my opinions, and my opinions aren't, worth very much. Look at me. Does it look like I have anything that's worth very much anywhere in my either personal integrity or physical wherewithal? The answer is no, in case you're wondering. In case you couldn't figure out the obvious right before you. But, I mean, hey, look, there's all kinds of things in this world that you haven't been able to figure out, which are pretty goddamn obvious. Should have figured out a long time ago. So something's wrong with you. I mean, something's really heavily wrong with you. All these problems don't start with them. Those are evildoers. They have no choice in the matter. They were born evil. The only way they have happiness is to see good people suffer. And so, I mean, that's sort of built into who they are and what they are. So that explains what they're doing. What's your freaking excuse? Just sitting around going, watch Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt until my eyes bleed. Horrifying. All right, so number 2, I'm not a partisan hack. I'm not out to get you. I'm not out to, lie and cheat and try to sneak my way under the gigantic, massive walls that you've built to make sure that you don't inadvertently let anyone in who comes from the other side of the aisle. Those undesirables, those freaks. I'm not down. I have, my life is, it's a 600-year-old scam that I'm just not going to give any more energy over to. I'm just a golden rule guy now. Give unto others, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Period. That's it. And the minute you start to, cast aspersions and paint broad brushstrokes against entire groups of people, it's the gateway to true bigotry. And once you've crossed over to that bigotry and allowed that into your persona, where does it stop? Where does it end? Where's the collapse of your integrity all of a sudden wind up having sea legs? I mean, it's the slippery slope, All right, so before we get into that, we got a lot of commercials. I mean, it's important. These things we got to pay for all this stuff. I don't know what you're thinking. Like you think it's a free ride? It's not a free ride. Top 10 Worst of the List is a new sponsor today, Bonsai Pubes. It's a chain of superstores where you can go in and while you're having your nails did and your hair done, you could have your, instead of regular body waxing, you can have your nether hairs sculpted into a fine, exotic depiction of peace and tranquility. Bonsai pubes, much like the bonsai trees, can be your road to a gentle and reflective persona all day. A revolutionary way to turn on your main squeeze, or your side piece, something fierce. Yes, absolutely. Full Brazilian is passé. Landing strips, on landing strips, they're a thing of the past. You don't want to be caught as an antiquity or defined as an antiquity. Turn on your lover to the exotic themes and delicate groin foliage of bonsai pubes. You'll thank me later. Now available in bonsai man buns and bonsai chest pelts as well. I had the bonsai chest pelt, and let me tell you something. It works every time, all the time. All right, so and then be the first on your block to own new human esophagus scuba gear. Each snorkel is made from a quality undiseased dead person. Whew. Human esophagus scuba gear from the makers of how many times have you been to things that, oh man, it's all so bad. From the makers of chemical castrations now come chemical vital organ self-mutilations. As the ruling elite rolls out the AI robot human purge, they'll be looking for subjects that are good matches to supply their vital organs library. As the human race nears extinction. Now with chemical vital organ self-mutilations, you can have the last laugh by consuming our product, which secretly makes your kidneys, corneas, livers, and hearts infuse a deadly toxin into the organ transplant recipient. That's right. You get him, yeah. I feel like Howard Dean after winning a primary. Yeah, Howard Dean. I'm Howard Dean. I'm Mills Lane. Let's get it on. Coming soon from the producers of Ultron and the producers of Tron comes Voltron versus Regular Tron, the movie that everybody's been asking for, and yet nobody will go to see. Voltron versus Regular Tron, and banana guacamole. Guacamole made completely from bananas, because they're kind of it's going to be like kind of similar. You use chips, bananas, and peanut butters and whatnot. And finally, none of us were alive when they decided the standard width of toilet paper, and this was, of course, before the advent of today's modern overeaters who make the overeaters of yesteryear seem emaciated and pallid. That's why Harmon Toilet Paper has created the new triple wide sheets chunky style toilet paper that's nearly a foot wide. The people at Harmon Toilet Paper realize you need a toilet paper designed for those really big evacuations, and with chunky style, your needs are covered. Your BM needs are covered. Do you hear that? Any of you extreme BMers? That's why we have full confidence when we say at Harmon, we've got your back. It's all so bad, I don't even know why I keep doing this, really. I think it might be something sadistic. I need to have it checked. And a meds adjustment. Perhaps I didn't snort enough Adderall. You think snorting your body weight in Adderall will get you ramped up for something, but that's this top 10 worst of list. The quality is so high, and the integrity of the information is so stacked and uncompromising that it really takes a Herculean effort. What you're watching right here, this is a Herculean effort. God damn it. All right, so that's it for the top 10. Let's do this list, Sally. Top 10 worst scams. Very important. Very, provide some very necessary support in your miserable daily lives, where you're getting ripped off left and right because brain power is just not where it should be. You don't blame yourself. You have years and years to turn the screws until you're mentally insufficient. You've got to read on average at a 5th grade reading level. You spend 5 hours a day on average watching television. Of course you're a Dumbo. Why would you expect anything else? But it's okay. It's not your fault. Nothing's your fault. Everybody's perfect. Let's start singing, what's that song by Kristen Aguilera? You're beautiful, everything you are. You're things that beautiful. Because everybody's beautiful and don't have to worry about it. Don't need to do anything to improve. There's no possible way you could possibly improve. Even if you try to improve yourself, you're perfect. Christina Aguilera's made it so. She sacrificed everything in order to be able to make our world just a little bit brighter. You can make a world a whole lot brighter. You can world brighter. With Christina Aguilera's making things a whole lot whiter. All right, so number 10, the top 10 worst scams. The Name a Star Company. Oh God, I hate those guys. Where they come on radio and they come on and they go, have you been looking for that special gift to tell someone how much you care or how careless you are? Why not call the National Star Registry where you can name a star after somebody? They don't. Our operators are standing by, and each of our operators are bobblehead dolls, so as to not confuse you too much and make you nervous. And they have, what you do is, you name a star after somebody with these people, and they tell you in the commercial, they tell you what they're going to do with it. They say, your star name will be entered into a list that's submitted to the U.S. Copyright Office. You know what that is? That list? The U.S. Copyright Office? Do you know what that is? It's called a fiction book. And they're submitting it with $10 in a form to the U.S. Copyright Office and copyrighting it which has absolutely nothing to do with the official naming of a star. You do better, you'd save money by just, like buying a map of the universe or whatever and circling a star saying, here, look, I named this freaking star after you moke. And what's a moke? Is that a slur? Let's call it mope. Sorry if it's a slur. Mope. You mope? What do you say? Here's your freaking present. I hate you. And most people hate each other, right? So it's not that much big of a stretch. Or here's a good one to play a little trick and say wrap up a box, like an empty box, with the map, with the star circled on it, and then they tear into it and they rip it open and they look in the box and it's empty and say, what the hell's wrong with you? Where's my gift? And you say, it was the map surrounding the box and you tore it up to shreds, so screw you, buddy. And then you have angry makeup sex afterwards and just everything's fine. Everything should be pointed towards angry makeup sex. You should be doing things in the course of your relationship that spur that on. Like if they got a favorite coffee cup or something like that, smash it, like right in front of them. Or even better yet, just leave it on the floor. Smash it when they're out of the apartment. Leave it smashed up on the floor so they know that you did and they still have to clean it up for themselves. And then you get into a big fight and then, a day, maybe something later, pound it out. Yeah. Once, twice, thrice, times a lady. You have that love music in the air. It's going to be hot. Whew. I'm jelly. Not really. I'm also frigid. So you can go to Pound Town as much as you like. My ticket won't get stamped. Oh, that's sad. Top 10 worst of guys has been hurt. Top 10 worst guys. What can we do to help you, Top 10 worst of guy? Click the like button. Smash the like button. Oh, I could tell you all kinds of sob stories. How about the time that I got, I had a job, a thing in Hollywood, and I had a big afro back then, and I went in, it was summer, I think, or whatever. I just decided to get it all chopped off. I went into work the next day, and they're like, oh my God, we just landed you a national commercial campaign because we needed somebody with a big afro. Swear to God. I had nothing to do with I was acting or anything like that. It's just I lucked into it. I could have made, who knows, $100,000 easy. But I got my hair chopped off the night before. So there you go. That's my life in a nutshell. Oh, top 10 worst of guy is so deep and he's such a survivor. We should find a way to donate to his Patreons or to tip jars or to make his life better by contributing to top 10 worst 40s of lists somehow. Yes. Well, anyway, so that's it for that one. So they got the name of the Star Company, and really it's a complete and total ripoff. They submit it to the Copyright Office. There's a big, huge, National Aeronautics Board or something like that where you have to go through in order to be able to name a heavenly body after somebody. And it's not easy and it's not cheap and it maybe can't even be done. So these Star Company people just they're writing a book called Stars, Friends that paid us to, register this book, and that's the name of their book. And then they submit it, $10 in the form, and that's it. It's the end of it. And then you go to the National Aeronautics Board, later you're going hey, they've discovered, neutronium or something super valuable on your star. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. If they're going to do an expedition to my star, I want to get paid. And you'd be like, SOL, baby. Because that didn't work. It's a lie. Scam, scam, scam. It's the name of the game. It's the number one common characteristic that we all have in common. It's really need to start to. Maybe I need to take a linguistics course or something. Spend some one-on-one time with my thesaurus. Number 9 of the top 10 worst scams. All the Trump companies, from Trump steaks, Trump guitars, Melania movies, etc., etc. I usually don't try to, point out obvious scams because it's sort of like low-hanging fruit. I usually try to go for stuff that's, got a little bit, needs a little bit of thoughtfulness or something to point out. This is just an obvious scam. And a relentless, you're making phones that have, the American flag is all distorted or, not enough stripes and stuff. And they, MAGA hats are made in China, right? So we're making America great again by making hats in China? How's that work exactly? Can somebody please explain that to me? I can't even spend a lot of time on it. There's just so much negativity they talk about like the Trump derangement syndrome and everything like that. I don't think it's necessarily has to do with Trump. It's just it's a lying clown and a system that supports it. And it's not just Trump. It's the whole, government. It's all the billionaires and everything like that. It's anger and depression over the world falling apart and being, used, abused, and tossed to the side by a grifter. And it's not just one grifter. It's like everybody's grifting. I think it's like the collapse. Like when people like Prince or David Bowie die, and people are like, really upset that they lost such a great artist and whatnot. It's not just about losing that artist. It's about the fact that the artists that are following behind them are these cheap, plastic, manufactured phonies. It's like, what's coming next. And you get Sabrina Carpenter to replace, somebody like Prince or something like that. It's super depressing. And doesn't have to do with any one particular person. It's this whole avalanche of depressing stuff that's just relentlessly pile driving our emotions into just like that little cube that they got when they dispose of a car, and that little thing that folds the car into a little cube, and then they got the cube. That's what our souls are, this cube, all crushed and compacted into, so you can't even breathe, can't even, the soul's supposed to be expansive, not crushed into a little tiny cube. Oh, cubes. God damn it. People suck. Before we go any further, I want to introduce my co-host for today's show. It's super cheap / free sound effects console. Looking to be able to do all kinds of good stuff. Oh, what are you all so upset about? Thank you. Yeah, that's better. All right, so we're going to do some great things today. I said great things today. The rest of this list, number 9, number 10, number 8, the worst all-time scams. Top 10 worst all-time scams. It's 1877 cars for kids. They had to live through that thing, that jingle of theirs, for, I don't know, 20 years or something crazy like that? They're just like kind of relentlessly bashing over our heads with that trite jingle, that nursery rhyme, over and over. The company was banned in California in May of 2026 when the chief operating officer testified that the organization has virtually no meaningful programs benefiting children beyond a backpack drive described in court as a branding exercise. So in other words, they put out backpacks that had the logo of Cars for Kids on the backpack, and the promotions that the charity got from the backpacks was the extent of their entire business enterprise. What they're investing, they're just taking the money, I guess, spending it on administrative costs. In other words, all the people, because it's 100% scam. Now you hear about this with a lot of charities. You need to be careful. And one of the things I hate about charities, as well as I'm on the subject, is that people, will like make these contributions to charities and just write it off on their taxes. And while that's great for the charities, the virtue signaling is unbearable for me to watch people take the credit for making contributions to charities when the fact of the matter is that we're the ones who are paying for it. They took it off of either their overall net income so that they pay taxes on less amount, or they applied it as an expense in most cases. And and that's not giving. That's not charity. Charity is giving when it hurts. Charity is giving from yourself, recognizing the need and giving without having to rely on others, compensating you for the charity gift behind the scenes, and you're just walking around like, like cock of the walk. And, the extent of it, since, in the last 10 years, I won't mention exactly why, but the extent of charitable giving being used as, like write-off material where people are virtue signaling from having given, the East Wing White House redevelopment project where supposedly hundreds of millions of dollars are being donated to rebuild the East Wing. Donated by who? And where's, when can we see their tax returns to make sure that they're not writing it off on their taxes and that we're winding up paying for it, 2 steps, 3 steps later, after the fact. And they're walking around like, oh, here we are, Amazon, we're giving all this money, blah, blah, blah. We should have a plaque in, the Trump tribute that we're making. I think, is there, for the reflective pool, are there private donations coming from that? The amount that Trump's being forced to pay to E. Jean Carroll, is that being paid for by Trump Corporation because it's all part of his efforts to be a public figure? So are we paying for the E. Jean Carroll? Wouldn't it be great? I mean, seeing all the people who are celebrating rightly that E. Jean Carroll finally got to this guy and has established now in some sort of adjudicatory forum that he was seen as being guilty for rape and defamation, it was a long time coming. So that's something different from what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whether or not the $5 million that Trump was forced to hand over came from his own pocket or came from his corporation, and that it will get either lopped off the top of his net profits or booked as a business expense, and so that we have to wind up paying for that $5 million settlement. And this stuff is going on with these people and that. I mean, because it's not a political thing. It's a business thing. It's all a giant grift. It's all a giant scam. And, I don't know, a lot of people are like able to see it and everything like that for what it is. And I wouldn't really blame people for wanting to try to believe. And there's so many other lies that are going on in our world and our society that, it's sort of difficult to single any of them out for any one particular there's a hierarchy of scams. There's so many of them going on that it's impossible to be able to sort of like sift through them all and find out which ones we should prioritize as being the worst of the scams. It's like you take your pick. It's Scam City, USA, and everything's for sale and everything's compromised at a point where, nobody has any idea what the hell's going on or anything that has any integrity. And if there is something with integrity, it's hidden so deep underneath the scam artists that we never get to see it. It's a goddamn shame, and I'm not happy about it. And 1-877 Cars for Kids. The 1-877 Cars for Kids, the 1877 cars part of it doesn't seem to have, sort of been, responsible for scamming out or anything like that. But the 4 kids part is the part where the scam seems to have taken place. I don't think the kids got a whole lot based on what the findings are in the article that I read. Saying that best we could do for kids is create backpacks that have our logo that helps us collect more money that we've diverted into administrative costs. That's bad. All right, number 7, the Dot Day were scabs. I'm going to go with Chapel Roan here. I've, I had optimistic thoughts for Chapel Roan. Her voice was real solid. And she was singing about some interesting things, but she turned out, in my opinion, to just be another one of these manufactured artists. She's made a lot of comments that are, either suggesting that she's an ingrate, saying that, the trappings of fame, blah, 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 are so evil and that's twisted. Oh, you tried most of your life to become famous. Did you think it was some kind of mystery about what fame was really like? The paparazzis and all this stuff. Screw you, buddy. It's like a million people who would trade their left nut to be in your position. And you only ever been a star once you started complaining about it for like a couple of weeks. Something like that. This is obviously a manufactured star. She's got makeup caked on so much you can see it from space. She's got the giant crazy fingernails and the outfit and stuff. And hair comes from, who knows where that hair comes from. It's all just like a series of layers upon layers that make them so delicate and so made up and so precious that, what are you going to do? I mean, how do you go out with that stuff? How do you, if you want to send a text to somebody with those nails, it's like, and I'm not just saying that because, obviously it escapes me that somebody wants to be exotic and there's nothing wrong with that, but what's behind this particular manufactured idol? It just doesn't seem authentic. It doesn't seem real. She's 27 years old. They are 27 years old. They are reported to have a husband. And so there's a lot of life that's been lived there. It's not just some ingenue coming onto the scene with no track record of love and relationships and experiential knowledge and whatever. It's 27 years old. It's pretty old for by today's day and age standards. I don't get it. I just don't. Something's wrong. Something's messed up. And then on top of it, she's doing a lot of anti-lefty things here and there, and also. She wouldn't endorse Kamala, for example, and I don't care. I mean, I didn't endorse Kamala. I got kicked off the voter rolls in that election and was unable to vote. I don't know why, but hey, what the hell? No big whoop. So I don't think in the state of Illinois where I'm at that making me lose my vote is going to swing it any one way or the other. It's just a bad thing that was going on. It's had no rhyme or reason just to single me out. I've been singled out for a lot of things. My life has been filled with a lot of anti-establishment rantings, ravings, and activities. Nothing violent or anything like that, but just like sort of raging against the machine, raging against the machines that run the machines that people used to rage against. But now it's like machines. There's numerous layers of machines that need to be raged against. And then there's also, the fact that, Chapel Roan, when Bridget Bardot died, she's like, oh my God, Bridget Bardot, she's so nice and sweet and wonderful. And then, turns out that Bridget Bardot was a big time closet Nazi. Wasn't even really closeted, really. She was a big time Nazi lover, is what it was. And so she's just sitting there with egg on her face. She didn't even know what the hell she's doing. And this is somebody who should have, at this point, already have the big fat team in her, PR department or whatever the hell they use to run these fake manufactured nobodies. And yet she's still coming out in favor of Bridget Bardot. It's like something. My spider sense is tingling. All right, so I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say other things about vile, tingling, other things tingling. You know, it's just not right. It's not pleasant. It's not how polite people comport themselves in public. Saying that, my ass is tingling or my nards are tingling. Number 6 of the top 10 worst scams. I would never say that. Never. Those are just examples of things I wouldn't say. My nips are tingling. I would never say my nips are tingling over outing a scam artist on a top 10 worst of lists. Although it can happen. My nipples are notorious for their the force and frequency of their tingling powers. Number 6 of the top 10 worst scams. The acoustic/unplugged version of Layla won the Grammy Award for Best Rock Song in 1993 and beat out Smells Like Teen Spirit. Now I got a whole laundry list. The Layla by Eric Clapton. It's 22 years later after it was released, which is a great song when it was originally released, but it's got, Bobby Whitlock on there with that magnificent piano coda, and it's got Dwayne Allman with the slide guitar and stuff like that. And it's got a competent and emotive version of Eric Clapton at the center of all of it with a great riff. But the acoustic version of it 22 years later is just milquetoast as hell and forgettable and it's just like unlistenable, really. A level of saccharine, forgettable tripe at the very least. I could say a lot worse things about it. Give me a minute, I'll pull my thesaurus out and I'll talk a blue streak. I'll talk a blue streak of insults to Eric Clapton and his fetid vanilla composition version of it's Layla. Shut up. I'll just go off on you. Oh, that's it. You asked for it, you got it. You wanted it bad, and I'm going to give it to you. And it's going to be bad. It's real bad. It's going to be banal. It's banal. It's banal. It's acoustic version of Layla is banal. It's cornball, conventional, insipid, jejune, monotonous, conventional, cliched, moth-eaten, platitudinous, ready-made, routine, outdated, old hat, musty, tired, unimaginative, flat, cheesy, boring, and warmed over. See? I told you to get you. Better watch it. I'm prepared. I'm hunting for big game. And Smells Like Teen Spirit is the exact opposite. It's the last hurrah of true rock and roll. And that's why they gave it to Eric Clapton. That, and I think Eric Clapton is sort of like an Illuminatus level figure, and maybe a Freemason or something like that, who has, what do they call it when the Bond 007 level is a license to kill. License to kill. I think Eric Clapton's killed before. I think he killed his kid, threw him out the window so he could score a big hit with that Tears in Heaven song. And I think that he killed Hendrix, turned him over on his back so he choked on his own vomit. Might not have been his own vomit. Might have been Eric Clapton's vomit. Feed him chewing up something thick and viscous, with a few chunks in there, and chews it up like a bird, spits it in Hendrix's mouth while he's, passed out from some drug that Clapton gave to him. And then the paramedics are coming and he's like, I turn you on your back. How dare you upstage Eric Clapton? And definitely Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's no doubt. Stevie Ray Vaughan was on such a tear. I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan on that tour, and I've seen unfortunately been subjected to numerous uh, regrettable views of various Eric Clapton stuff. And Stevie Ray Vaughan blew away Jeff Beck on the dual headliner tour that they took together with Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop. And Stevie Ray Vaughan blew him off the stage. And I've never seen anybody that could touch Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck was like a master of blowing everybody off stage. And then here comes Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray, he cleaned up. He was visionary and profound. His guitar was wailing. And I'd seen him before, but never as good as this. Right after I saw him was when he went to that Alpine Valley show with Eric Clapton. And he probably did the same thing to Eric Clapton, blew him away. And Eric Clapton was like, give the Huck Conan a blade. So it just basically, that's his code word for kill Stevie Ray Vaughan to his, creepy little minions. And, that's it. Threw a wrench into his helicopter engine and Stevie Ray Vaughan is gone. Vaughan is gone. Eric Clapton is the embodiment of evil. He's not just bad, which is like, it's shockingly boring. It's at levels that even all those adjectives I just ripped off, I don't even come close to truly expressing how horrible Eric Clapton really is, and boring and trite and unlistenable. And beat out Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is a song that, lit up everybody's soul and imagination, was so awesome and so authentic sounding and full of vitality and anger. Really was. Nothing should have been able to touch that. And you give the goddamn Song of the Year award to acoustic version of Layla, a 22-year-old song, a version of which sucked and was boring as hell. That's a scam right there. That's not, an accident. Things like that don't happen like that. It's like the time they gave Meryl Streep, that blowhard phony, the Academy Award, Best Actress Academy Award for Iron Lady. Oh, God. Whoa. How about the horrible? How horrible was that? And that they even made a movie that glorified Margaret Thatcher is enough of a black mark against the human race to say that full extermination is maybe perhaps justified. But you get some lady who every time she gets in front of a camera paints a picture of herself being an even bigger egomaniac. It's not stopping. It's just like sort of this glowing orb of egomania that surrounds her like a gigantic, thick aura that yanks everything that comes into its path into its sphere of influence to the point where it's become, a menace to a threat to humanity as a whole. And she comes out and says, I've only got 3 months a year that I can dedicate for acting. The rest is just I'm spending on me and ruminating on my own powers of expression and tremendousness. I don't think so, man. Here's somebody who, righteously, and had the power to be able to do it effectively, to call out Donald Trump, and I think it was 2016, 2018, when she won the Golden Globe Awards, and she stood up and she said, Donald Trump immediately disqualified himself from being, elected to an office to represent all of us when he made fun of the disabled reporter. It was, and she was right about that. It's one of the most despicable things I've ever seen a public figure do. But then she follows it up immediately by saying MMA fans and football fans are, beneath me and sort of like garbagey people because they like MMA and football. Screw you, man. That's the type of representation that I'm talking about when we're talking about the new alt-left. You come out and you say something that everybody with liberal-minded progressive thoughts can agree with, but then you turn out to be just as bad of a phony and not being able to be relied upon as an icon and a true charismatic leader when you followed up with something as stupid and dismissive and ego-driven as MMA people and football people are beneath Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep will not do MMA. I'm quite sure. And it's just like, oh, screw you, buddy. Anyway, number 5 of the top 10 worst scabs. Alt-right media is somehow independent. Now, there's the mainstream media is obviously like, it's not really lying. If they were lying, they'd have like 1 million lawsuits every goddamn day. And while they do all of them have in-house staffs of lawyers and stuff like that to be able to contend with the lawsuits that they do get, if they were consistently lying, they'd be having, lawsuits up to yin yang. Relentlessly. These people are so litigious in this. Think about, the whole Washington Post reporting on the amount of lies, tracking the amount of lies that Donald Trump said in his first term. He got up to 30,000 lies, and yet Trump never sued them, which is a statistical impossibility knowing, what his track record is and the amount of lies and everything like that. It's really a default admission that what the Washington Post was printing was true, that he couldn't prove it wasn't in court and just let it ride. And we just sit around thinking wow, that's just nothing worth paying attention to. Nothing is worth paying attention to as long as it goes against the status quo. And it's just like, ugh, God, what a horrible, place to live in this time and age. There's no place for any of the working class or people that are actually working and sacrificing for a living. But what happens is, I think that the mainstream media isn't lying per se, but they're limiting the scope of which they report on things so that they can cherry pick what they're going to put out there and create an illusion of the world based on what they want their editorial spin to be. So they will show, let's say on local news, they'll show a bunch of, violent street takeovers and stuff where it's almost all, if not all, black kids. And it'll portray the inner city downtown as being dangerous, and it'll portray black people as being violent and, not having any lives or anything like that. And they will choose to put that story as the lead of the local news. However, in terms of the aggregate negativity that's going on in the world, there's 23,000 people dying from starvation-related causes all throughout the world. Why isn't that the lead story every day? I know that we need to be informed of local things, is sort of just like a matter of safety or pride or whatever it is for good news. But hey, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's thousands of people who die every day in this country of cigarette-related, tobacco-related causes, and they are hooked by the age of 15. So that's why tobacco companies will advertise to kids and market to kids. Used to be with Joe Camel, now it's with bubblegum flavored vape cartridges and such. And then they have chemicals that they infuse into tobacco products and make them almost impossible to give up. And if you know that your target market becomes addicted by the age of 15, it's child abuse. They're attacking kids by targeting them and infusing them with drugs and chemicals that make it impossible for them to give up tobacco once they've got them hooked. And we do absolutely nothing about that. Now, look, it's not necessarily local, and we do need to have, some sort of sense of what's going on locally. But, how do you prioritize thousands of people dying every day from this and this scam and, reporting on it and being relentless about it so these white-collar criminals can be tried for murder and accessory to murder, as, should be the case for all of them? How do you make that choice? We're letting all the white-collar robber baron criminals and sociopaths go, and we're focusing on a couple of kids who don't have anything, better to do with their time than to screw around and, make a little havoc. Well, why don't you put together some programs and stuff like that to give them something positive to aspire to? Jobs programs. Why don't you create a world that they can feel, comfortable living in, that they feel accepted and a part of something bigger, so they have some value either for themselves or for the world, or better, for both. It's all it's not just about what you are, what your opportunities are, but having something to lose. That creates value. So if people have opportunities for better education, people have opportunities for better life, better jobs, better ways to go, better, more integrity types of things, where they're not, the only opportunities for people looking for a little bit of upward mobility out of their, what could be very difficult settings and stuff like that, is going into the army. Well, but how do you expect people to feel? It's just so bad. Then there's it's not just about the economies. It's also about the whole identity of what we are and how bad the people are on top and how much they lie and cheat and get away with it. And how much our society and culture sucks and how manipulative it is and how people have to, sort of sit around and take it when these just pathetic Eric Claptons and Chapel Roans get traipsed out exclusively. There's nothing different. Nobody is, you pray. There's finally, please give us some authentic people, some charismatic people who are worth believing in. But you never get them. They're always compromised. They're always evil. How would you expect people to feel, kids to feel, as they're growing up within that? They know they're being targeted by cigarette companies. They know their stars and their culture are full of phonies and liars, and they know that their politicians are robbing them blind and destroying their futures. I mean, what's the point? You got to create value. That's the only way to stop this stuff. Stupid people. Hold on a second. God damn it. Oh. All right. Yeah. So let's another one. Let's go with number 4. The top 10 worst scabs. Oh, this one pisses me off, really. Outrage over the Epstein files when, as of May 2026, child marriage is legal in 33 states. Hypocrites. I mean, do you not even look into these ideas? You start to get pissed off and you're like, oh, well, I know where to challenge my rage against now. Let's go after these. What is her, Bain? That lady, the attorney general, blonde lady, who redacted all and blocked all the release of the Epstein files. Bondi. My name is Bondi. Pam Bondi. And she blocks all the and redacts and stuff like. It's almost like the Epstein files weren't actually even, any of them were worth a damn. The ones that she released and the other ones are black. But do you really think we're still waiting to find out exactly what happened with JFK, and we still really don't know any of that stuff, what really went down, and that was 60-something years ago, right? You really expected the Epstein files to come out, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that 2/3 of this goddamn country allows for childhood marriages, and you're expecting that this country all of a sudden is going to change and be like really super enthusiastic about actually busting the white collar guys for getting away with it. I mean, it's uncanny. Some of the ages that states will allow, or I think I saw 12 on there, and I think I saw some or one or something where there was no age limit. Now, I'm not trying to advocate the abusiveness that's going on here. Not at all. I'm just trying to say, if we're going to be doing something here, let's do it right. And hypocrisy, isn't it? But I guarantee that these short sighted pawns in the whatever, I don't even really know how to define the group that's protesting against the status quo. Or lefties or anything. I don't know. They're so ultra conservative in many arenas that it's difficult to think of them as progressive lefties. But the fact is that you got, people who are out to try to, stop the, get the Epstein files out there, specifically because they just want to get rid of Trump and Trumpism and MAGA and finally own those guys for once. But it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the quickest path. I think that's why they were going after the Epstein files. Why they go after him so hard now? Because I think everybody knows at this point. I mean, Trump, the Access Hollywood tapes, I think, sort of let us in on what Trump is really like with the grabbing of the hoo-ha and they let you do it and all that kind of callous, the type of thing that a real pathological numbnuts would say about abusing women to try to justify it in their own head so that they can live with themselves. But I just don't think that that's the quickest way to do it, because there's just so many people in the United States where that stuff is, actually, child marriage is legal. So there's a lot of people out there that are down with what was going on with Epstein. Now, I think he really probably should consider the whole idea of just going after the people for the malfeasance. And the Supreme Court, the whole thing is garbage. The whole thing needs to be thrown out. And I don't know how you get away with a revolution or anything like that at this point. But, I guess, between dollar votes and trying to manipulate the actions of corporations into being a little bit more socially responsible and supporting people who are, elected officials who are more socially responsible than what they've been doing. And then also, I guess, running with grassroots candidates because look at the people in the Democratic Party that have been sort of featured in the news recently or elected. You get Spamberger, who was former CIA, right? So that's not a liberal, and she's been bashed already mercilessly for doing anti-union legislation and not approving a lot of left-wing agenda items and vetoing them. And then you get Mickey, somebody or another, I forget, in New Jersey, who's former military. And then, of course, you get Shatner, what's that guy's name? Blattner, in Maine, who's, abusing women left and right, apparently, unfortunately. And he's got Nazi swastikas tattooed on his body. Not swastikas, but the Nazi emblemology tattooed on his body. And, they're trying to explain that away. I mean, it's a whole series, and it's been going on since 1993, when Bill Clinton sent his attack dog, Rahm Emanuel, his majority whip in the House, to go convert a bunch of right-wingers to call them blue dog Democrats. Now, they did. They went out and recruited a bunch of them, and they flipped to voting with the Democratic caucus, but they were still ultra-right-wingers in terms of what they were looking for policy-wise. So, I mean, it's so damn obvious. And people who have been paying attention this whole time, they would have seen it coming a long time ago. Maybe could have done something before we got so perilously close to the unleashing of the AI robots. Because who goddamn knows? They already got the AI robots running freaking half marathons. I can't tell you. I'm not in any kind of shape to even run, like half a block, let alone half a marathon. And that's what we're facing now. And so, hey, whatever. If you want to do that type of stuff, you want to pay attention to nothing. It's the fact that, since 1993, they've been recruiting Republicans to have them vote with the Democratic caucus and put out their shingle that they were Democrats, even though their policies were ultra-right. And say, hey, whatever. It's getting to the point where it's going to be impossible to be able to do anything different. Where the carelessness that so many of the dissenters or the people who should have been playing the role of dissenters to protect our freedoms and our whatever ideals of Republican representation we had for our government, just let fly out the window. And the only things that survive are things that are doing us harm, and they're thriving. All right, number 3 of the top 10 worst scams, Hillary Clinton, ruining the National Healthcare Initiative. And look, I know I'm bashing on some righties here, lefties here, but just, see that, quite frankly, that the lefties are the key to this whole thing, because it's, I think, true that the right wing hasn't been winning by making the right wing better, more competent, more responsive to the needs of the working class. They've been winning because the left wing is getting worse. The left wing has been brought so low that basically that you got somebody who was appointed to a role that nobody liked in the 2024 presidential election. Nobody liked Kamala in the primaries in 2020. She was the first one to jump out of the race, I think, with 0 delegates. God damn it. And don't tell me it can't be done, because Lyndon Baines Johnson jumped out of the race in 68, in March of 68. So it could be done. I mean, they've voted and used to vote all the time for the candidate in the political conventions. So you had a little time to in 2024 to have the top runners sort of go on TV, give some speeches, and try to knock around maybe a couple quasi primaries or whatever. But did they do that? No. You had Hillary surrogates coming out in mass on the Sunday that Biden announced that he was stepping down and endorsing Kamala, well, we all saw where that wound up. And but no, what I'm talking about is the healthcare initiative back when Hillary was in '93 when Bill Clinton was president, and for some reason he put Hillary in charge of national health initiative, single payer system, and even though Hillary had no experience with healthcare, no experience with law writing in Capitol Hill or the red tape and everything like that, and she went to the drawing board and created a plan that was as long as a phone book, and I'm not exaggerating, that it was so bad and so full of details and garbage that nobody would read it. They never brought it up for a vote. All she really needed to say was 3 magic words. Would you remember what they are? Medicare for all. And we would, for the last 45 years, we would have had a single payer option. That's all she needed to say. Instead, she puts that phone book up for review, and the Democratic caucus wouldn't even bring it up for a vote. It was that bad. She is the one person that sank our only opportunity to have a single-payer national health system. When she was a kid in her formative years, she volunteered for, Goldwater, Barry Goldwater, the ultra-right conservative jerk-off. And then she went to the Republican National Convention in Miami Beach in 1968. In her formative years, she was a Republican. Again, she volunteered for Barry Goldwater. I mean, look up Barry Goldwater. You definitely need to take a look at that guy. That guy was nasty. So, I mean, look. It's a grift. She's a fifth column operative, and so is Bill. And they're doing everything they can to destroy the Democratic Party from within, to destroy the causes of the working class, to destroy the agenda of the working class, and to make us all mixed up and create laws and efforts that are on the wish list. NAFTA and Telekinesis Act of 1996, Telecommunications Act of 1996, and what else you got? You got the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. That changed, that so any crime would be a deportable offense from somebody waiting for amnesty or any kind of immigration policies or immigration hearings and stuff like that. When it used to be, just only severe crimes would be treated like that. You got Defense of Marriage Act that Clinton signed, which said that marriage can only exist between a man and a woman. You got Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which set back gay rights in the military. I mean, I think all the way till now. Like a full 40-something years. Of course, Monica Lewinsky, repeal of Glass-Steagall, which led to the Great Recession. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 was what gave Clear Channel the ability to be able to buy every radio station, 75% of the radio stations in major market locations, which enabled them to create a network, and which they populated with their own crazy invention named Rush Limbaugh. So, I mean, these are the types of things that are going on in the left. So where's the representation for the working class? It doesn't exist. Number 2, the top 10 worst scams. Trickle down theory. Okay, like the first time I remember hearing trickle down theory was in the early '80s. Ronald Reagan gets elected, and they trot out this guy David Stockman, who creates Reaganomics, which is supply side economics, where they're gonna try their very best to give the rich giant tax. I mean, gigantic. They went from something like 70% to like 30% or something crazy like that, the top tax bracket. And then, they create, this massive amount of spending for the military. And at the same time, they're doing tax cuts. And the budget shortfall was astronomical, the biggest since the World War II. And the deficit, and then it was like sort of like the rich were supposed to get tons of cash, and they were supposed to spend that cash because they were the job creators. They were supposed to spend that cash on things that would wind up having the money that they were given through the tax cuts trickle down to the rest of us. And they found that the only thing that was trickling down to the rest of us was stuff that came out of their butts 2 days after they ate Taco Bell. 2 hours, I don't know. Number 1 of the top 10 worst scams is the liberal media. Okay, now we have to realize that everything that we hear and know is delivered to us by the owners of the media resources that we're allowed to have regular contact with. That means all of our radio stations, local stations, everything like that are all in on it. And they do, sort of things that will limit our ability to be able to feel and think for ourselves. And so you get, people that are just saying like, it's a liberal media. But, what we're doing is we're confusing intelligence for liberalism, because the people who are the talking heads and whatnot and working as writers and things, they will have some liberal people in the mix of all this stuff, but to say that it's liberal is a stretch of the imagination. The people behind the scenes are probably like almost like evil robots at this point, but they're just sort of compromised at levels that we can't possibly comprehend. They have no respect for any humanity. They have no humanity left within them. They will hurt and destroy everything in their path in order to be able to compromise us. So when they come out and they say liberal media, consider the source. It's read out to us by ultra-conservative media that's telling us to believe that they are liberal. When they're not, the ultra-right-wing corporations own every media outlet that we get to see or hear. You think that's liberal? The ultra-conservative corporations, or that they put people on their airwaves that have a possibility of us, liberating ourselves from the yoke of their oppression? I think not. Quit lying to yourself. What it is that, we've got a lot of people who are out there trying their very best to clamp the boot heel down on our necks and keep us pinned there forever. And they own all the outlets. So they can tell us, any version of the truth that they want us to hear, but it's still a version of the truth that they want us to hear. So it's not going to be very productive or honest. It's just all designed as a means of asserting their domination of all the rest of us and making sure that we stay, within the confines, color inside the lines, all that kind of stuff. And it's not, something that, they have a few outlets that appear to be liberal, like Kimmel and Fallon and, Colbert and, who's the other guy? Cooper. Stupid guys. Jon Stewart with The Daily Show. But, I mean, think about how few of these things there are compared to the entirety of TV and cable. And the fact of the matter is that they're really not great research. They will keep a few people that they groom very carefully to give people the illusion that there is some liberalism and progressive thought in their media, but really it's just keeping people plugged in because they need to keep feeding us with the indoctrinational messages of hate and distortion. And so what's it going to be like if there was none of that? If they really did, pull all the stops and make it 100% conservative media all the time? Well, people would pull the plugs themselves and they'd seek representation elsewhere. And that would be, tantamount to starting a revolution or something along those lines. Because once you start to feel that you don't have any representation of the power apparatus whatsoever, you start to get angsty and start to want to react against the system itself. And that can be, a little detrimental to the old status quo's stature and viability, more importantly. So anyway, there's all the time you get from the top. What a pleasure it's been. What a distinct honor. And I feel all kinds of like a billowous sense of accomplishment and effusive amounts of adrenaline pumping through my system, reaching this great and profound top 10 worst of list. And I think that we're all a little bit better off for having taken the time to endure it. Yeah, I guess endure is probably an okay thing. Tune in again next time for another astounding edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists, where we go and take a look at top 10 worst times to fake a prostate orgasm. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Oh, wait, one more thing before.